Hello everyone, welcome to Indian Economy by Aman Soni. Today's news are we would be discussing the important articles related to economy from the Hindu newspaper. In the editorial page, the main editorial is about growing inflation in the economy. In yesterday's news we have discussed that the consumer price index has reached to 6.07 percentage, breaching the upper tolerance limit of 6% of the RBI. And we also saw that the wholesale price index also raised to 13.11%. The article discusses about the same things and the impact that it has on the economy. It goes into the details saying that the food price inflation is also increasing, and we know that the rural consumption in the economy was very low. Adding to that, now the food price index in the rural areas is also increasing. On one side the consumption is low because of the inflation, on the other side the inflation is also increasing, the incomes are also less, so this would affect the economy a lot. And other aspects of the consumption basket, wherein the meat and fish also increased, the vegetables our prices have also increased. In the previous report of the RBI had said that the prices of vegetables and fruits, because of the winter crops that the supply that comes to the economy, the prices would reduce in the future. Now because that has not happened till now, the supply is still shaky, so the prices are still increasing. This has not gone according to the expectations of RBI. And the increase in the oil price also would be seen, because in the previous news we have discussed about how much oil the India imports from Ukraine, especially the sunflower oil. So the retail prices of a sunflower oil per liter would be more. After 1 or 2 months, it would almost increase by 40-50 rupees per liter. And we can see from all this that the overall trend in the economy of the inflation is increasing, because every product the price is increasing. And till now the effect of the increase in the crude oil prices have not been felt by the retail consumers, because the oil price marketing companies, they have not increased the retail price. If that happens, if that impact is seen by the retailer, adding to the fuel of all the price increase, the retail price increase also would be seen. And if the price of petrol and diesel increases, the cost of transportation, the logistics cost increase, again this will have a cumulative effect on the increase in the price. So you can see that how an increase in price is leading to more increase in price, which will further add fuel to the increase in price. It would continue like a cycle. And because of all this, the fluctuations in rupee is happening because of the volatility and the increase in interest rates by the federal bank, and rupee is falling. Even though the exports are competitive because of the falling in value of rupee, certain sectors under the export sector, like the gems and jewelry, which are export intensive, basically they import the raw materials. If you take the gems and jewelry, they import the diamonds, crude diamonds, they polish it in India and they export it. So this particular sector under the export sector, it would get affected. Same with the pharma. Even though we are a manufacturers in pharma, the import cost of the raw materials that we import itself would be higher because of the global increase in prices. So it would affect even subsectors in the export sector. And manufacturers won't be able to absorb the increase in the cost, so they would stop the production. If production is stopped, the employment reduces, the disposable income of the people reduces. It would lead to final reduction in the consumption demand, which would impact the growth. So the editorial says that now RBI has to take care of controlling this inflation and taming the inflation. Otherwise, the very growth that the RBI is trying to promote in the economy would be affected, because the production, overall production in the economy stops. It would lead to final fall in incomes, and it would lead to fall in consumption, and there is no consumption, there won't be further production, so the economy will go into a downturn of growth. This is about this editorial. In the business page, we just discussed about how crude oil prices would impact the economy, and The finance ministry is saying that the sources of import of crude for the Indian economy is diverse. We import from shale gas from the USA. We import oil from Iraq, Iran, and Saudi, and all the Arab nations. And our exposure to Russia and Ukraine is very less in terms of the oil. And we are also diversifying into other renewable sources like the solar energy. The solar installation capacity in India has increased. We have nuclear power. So the finance ministry is saying that our exposure to the conflict directly is limited. So even though the crude oil prices are very harmful for the economy in the short term, in the long term, India wouldn't have much impact. Just have to wait and see. Now, because there are talks about Russia and Ukraine talking about ceasefire, the oil prices are slowly stabilizing. The price of Brent crude, which almost went to 135 dollars per barrel, it has now almost fallen to $100 per barrel, which is a good news. Now, because of the another COVID wave in China, the global supply chain would get again disrupted, and all those sectors which are dependent on China for raw materials, especially the electronic sector and the pharma sector, which import raw materials from China and produce when it comes to the pharma sector and the electronic sector, wherein we would directly import the finished goods. These particular sectors would be affected if the supply chain from China is disrupted. Here, just the headlines is important. Mobile data users in India touch 765 million. The access of internet and the penetration of internet in India is continuously increasing. Now the number of mobile users with internet connection has increased to almost 675 million people, and the 99% of the country's data consumption is met by the 4G service. So you can see how much the access of 4G has penetrated into the Indian market. And the report also says that the millennials on an average spend almost 8 hours per day being online. Again here just the headlines is important. Government approves production linked incentive plan for the auto part firms. Just read this. We don't need to go into the details of all this. You can skip them. The explainer, the article discusses about the current solar capacity in India and what are the challenges that India is facing and should be the way forward to increase the renewable energy in India. Very recently, in February, the installed solar capacity in India has crossed the 50 gigawatts limit, which is a tremendous achievement. Journey towards generating, and we have a goal of generating 500 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. And of the 500 gigawatt of renewable energy, almost 300 gigawatts is going to come from the solar power. So now out of the 300 gigawatt of target, we have crossed the 50 gigawatt limit, and India in terms of capacity addition ranks 5th in the world. But again, this is a cause of concern. On one side this is an achievement, on the other side it is a cause of concern, because of the 50 gigawatt, almost 42 gigawatts come from the ground mounted solar PV system, and only 6.48 comes from the rooftop solar. If we are installing heavily solar panels on the ground, you can't use that land for anything else. A better thing would be to install the solar gigawatts in the wasteland, which we are currently doing. But we could also use all the rooftop solar system which is unutilized currently. The government is giving heavy push towards the ground mounted solar system, because there you can install at a huge place for heavy production, but the rooftop solar would be giving a limited generation. And why is India falling short of rooftop solar installations? The ground mounted, we know that they can be installed at huge area, they can provide many gigawatts, they can be connected to the solar grid, and they have the option of net metering. Net metering is when the, the solar grid of the solar panels, they are connected to the electricity grid of the discom company, and this would be measured, should be metered. So how much ever you produced, if you consume more than the production, the discom will charge you for that. In case you produce more than what you are consuming, you would be paid by the discom for producing extra and sending it to the grid. This is called net metering. Whatever you produce and you consume, it would be set off. That is, the net of the production and consumption would be considered, and it would be metered and charged. And because of its scale, the huge scale, and because of its utility that it is giving, we are mainly going for the ground mounted solar projects currently. And the rooftop solar is limited, it can be just for a small building. And the benefits of the rooftop solar is not currently being utilized, because in terms of grid, the main factor is the distribution and transmission losses. Every year so much electricity loss happens because of the transmission and distribution through the electricity lines. When it comes to the rooftop solar, the rooftop solar has a great advantage because there won't be any distribution and transmission losses, because the electricity is generated at the point of consumption. You are consuming electricity in that particular building, and the electricity is produced at the same building on top of the building, so there won't be any transmission losses, and huge amount could be saved because of savings from the transmission loss. That is why we need to deploy the rooftop solar, but it has various challenges because one, the discoms are not ready to provide net metering, because a small, they are not interested in providing net metering facility to a small rooftop solar project as compared to a huge utility based project which is installed on a huge parcel of land. And currently the cost of solar panels for installing on the rooftops are high. Even the government is coming up with various schemes to provide subsidies for the people who install rooftop solar. Still, the loans are not very easily available. There are limited financing options, and the residential consumers and the small and medium enterprises, they are not able to find viable loans, and the cost is currently very high. That's why people are not going for that. So what can the government do to avoid this? The discoms, government, utilities, they have to come together and explore different financing mechanisms where the cost of loan should be brought down. The cost of installation and cost of financing is brought down, automatically the consumers and the small enterprises, they would be interested in investing into the rooftop solar system. And the other suggestion would be aggregating the rooftop solar system so that you can create economies of scale. Say there is a situation, there is a rooftop solar system on this particular building, and that is on this building, so we should connect everything together and make like a hub. In that case, there would be some extra additional energy generated here, and that particular generated energy can be transferred to the grid, and all these people can earn income also. This is the one suggestion given in the article, that is aggregating rooftop solar system. And the solar sector as such faces many challenges in India to increase the capacity. And what are those? There has been increase in the growth of installed capacity, no doubt about it, but the growth has not been as much as the increase in demand, because even now solar sector contributes just 3.6% of the entire electricity demand that we want, the power demand in India. Only 3.6 percentage comes from the solar sector. And even the utility scale solar sector, they have various challenges like the land cost. In order to invest in the land, you have to lease the land for so many years, or you have to purchase the land. So the basic thing is the land cost, and high transmission and distribution losses. We discussed about the transmission and distribution, and there will be inefficiencies, and there are various challenges regarding connection to the grid and all the technical challenges, and also the conflicts with the local communities and environmental protection norms, because the local people may not accept installing solar systems in their locality, because of which the solar sector is still not able to efficiently function in India. And one positive aspect is that the tariff, the cost of generation of power through solar sector in the utility sector segment in India is one among the lowest in the world, which is a beneficial thing. But because it is suffering from all these challenges, the sector as such is not able to being viable, and many people are not going for that. And when we talk about solar, the main part is the solar cells, the solar panels. What about our domestic capacity in manufacturing? We need to look at that, because the basic cost of installing solar, the main part of it is the solar cell, the raw material, the equipment, and we are not producing enough to meet our potential demand. India had only 3 gigawatts of solar cell production in 2021, and the backward integration is absent in, and the major imports that is happening is from China. We are heavily dependent on China for importing our solar panels and cells. And because of low manufacturing in India and because of cheap imports from China, the Indian products are not competitive in the market. On one side, there is no manufacturing, because of which the economies of scale does not exist in India. On the other side, you are getting cheap imports of solar panels and hardware from China. So the domestic manufacturer of solar panels is not able to compete with the cheap imported products from China. And what is the solution for this? The solution for this is either increasing the capacity in India so that we can produce huge quantities at a low cost per unit cost, which is called economies of scale, or going for circular economy. Circular economy is a concept where after using the product, instead of throwing it and dumping it, we try to reuse it. We try to repair the product if possible and try to reuse it and put it into use. That's why the name circular economy. Through the reusing of the product, we are going to generate almost 35,000 metric tons of solar waste by 2030. Because of all the installed capacity till now, they are going to be obsolete by 2030. We can use the circular economy model, reuse all the solar panels, and we can reduce the import, and we can also not depend on the new products because we are reusing the old ones. Currently, only European Union has rules regarding the reusing of solar panels. India also should get a policy towards the extending producer responsibility in solar panels, so that throughout the life cycle of the solar product there won't be much waste, and the product can be reused and reused until it can completely becomes waste. So what are the lessons from the solar journey of India? It is a positive aspect that the journey of India is very progressing. India has done tremendous achievements, as we saw, in increasing the capacity, but various challenges are there which we need to be taken care of. At the same time, all the lessons learned by India is a model for all the other developing economies for transitioning to the clean economy, especially the countries in African region. They can emulate the model that is followed by India. And we are also part of the International Solar Alliance. India is heavily supporting the International Solar Alliance, and we can make use of this particular platform to express our views, to voice our opinions, so that we can collaborate with the other like-minded nations and help the country in mobilizing investments, in capacity building, in R&D, research and development regarding the solar technology. That way a meaningful cooperation would happen between this, and all the countries could transition for the green energy, is the solar energy. These are the articles related to economy today. Thank you so much.